as everyone else, making the priorities of citizens known to the political leaders is a good process. Making the political party position on these issues, making known to people is also a good process. And we should all join hands in celebrating democracy. Elections is the only festival that all of us should participate in as far as celebrating the Constitution is concerned.
Question is, we have different bodies which take decisions. To actually, suppose it is the panchayat, the lowest level, how much is the country decentralized?
You will find this a little surprising that the rural panchayati raj institutions are more powerful than the urban centers today. The urban local bodies are far behind in terms of even the processes that are there and demonstrated in the rural panchayat election, right? The amount of devolution of powers and funds are far more in the rural economy and the rural political and governance institutions. Many times, in spite of the 74th Amendment being there, you will see many cities not having an elected mayor, not having the elected corporation being around for doing the most important work of delivering the basic services that all of us are dependent on the city. So on this, I would like to celebrate the 73rd Amendment and the devolution of powers that have happened at the rural Panchayati Raj institutions. A great deal of amount happens there. There is still one bottleneck. As some of you would have known, the devolution of funds that happen from the Finance Commission, from the union government to the state governments, it's an automatic process. About 43% of the revenue that the union governments collects, they send it back to the states, right? This is the devolution that we all know. A similar process is supposed to be done at the state government level, where they devolve a good amount of portion of their revenues and the central contribution to the local bodies. That is not happening as efficiently. So this whole power dynamics is very interesting, where the state finance ministers are always saying that we need more money from the union funds, but they are not as eager to distribute and devolve funds at the local government level. So collectively, rural is better than urban centers, but both of them can benefit by having formula-based devolution of funds from the state level to the local body level.
Why is there so much of division on the sharing of funds at different levels? And what are the different levels, and where do you think it should be shared?
Yeah, so as I said, the central pool of money comes, the central taxes, the union taxes go and sit in Delhi, and from there, the 43.5% get devolved into the state capitals, right? So the State Finance Commission has to function in a similar fashion as the Central Finance Commission. So that, I think, is the first important thing to function on. And the 74th Amendment also needs greater recognition of the equivalence of Gram Sabha, the equivalence of having ward committee meetings regularly. While the Gram Sabha meetings happen more often and more structured manner, many states have not defined how the ward committee meetings happen. So I think these are the twin institutions that have to be strengthened. And if they can be strengthened, then I think the ability of the local governments to serve the citizens better will go up. And most of the basic services that I and you are bothered every day, be it from parking, be it from health, sanitation, waste management, etc., all of them can improve significantly when the local bodies start functioning better.
The next question is, you said it was a myth that when people say, okay, this is not a man who will actually be able to win, so let us not vote for him. And I have seen physically that good candidates are not getting voted because they lost 1,000 votes because the other person has taken 2 lakh votes. So how do you say it is a myth?
Well, I come from a framework of saying that other person votes, you don't know. So your job is to put your vote for the person who represents you better rather than try and play the gamble of who's the winning candidate. Often in Indian democracy, many voters are told, telling that, oh, you voted for that guy, your vote went for a waste. You don't know. You don't know how typically an assembly constituency has about 2 lakh voters, right? And if there are 2 lakh voters, the winning candidate usually gets between 30 to 40,000 votes. So what happens in this is that you don't know who are the other 30,000 who are voting for which candidate. So don't get worried about that I should win for the winning candidate. Rather, your focus should be on saying that among the 3 choices, which leader will stand up for me, which leader will represent me better.
So I still don't understand, because if you see Jayaprakash Narayan, who is one of the most educated in the understanding of public policy, but we have seen that he was not successful in ensuring Lok Sabha had become public, whereas Aam Aadmi has turned successful. So I don't understand, because what I hear is he only split the votes for TDP and TDP lost. TDP has helped Hyderabad grow to where it is, but he actually made him lose. So I don't understand why it is still a myth.
Yeah, so I am one of those people who contested on Lok Sabha party in Bangalore, right? And of course, there's no TDP in Bangalore, right? So we were not trying to cut TDP's votes here. So it's very difficult to look at these caste dynamics and like trying to say who will make whom lose the election, right? But I'll say this, right? Jayaprakash Narayan Garu won the first time he contested elections. The second time, of course, he didn't make it to the Lok Sabha, right? So sometimes we should also understand how the message of the leader is taken to the grassroots voters is also very important, right? So that's the reason today there are cadre-based parties, right? The left used to be a cadre-based party earlier. Then Congress ended up becoming a huge institution with a lot of members. And now BJP over the many decades has shown how a structure can help win elections, right? The BJP has such a good machinery where they have one person in charge page of electoral Panna Pramukh. They have managed to set up a machinery of that level of granular detail. So it's not just enough that a leader has a great message. The leader also has to have a message that percolates at the grassroots. There are many first-time contestants in Karnataka whose elections have had a chance to look at it closely, where they methodically come and executed a plan and said that, okay, here is how my machinery will work and here is how I'll get elected. So it has to have both. One is the right messaging, the right connect with the people. The second is also that every voter should not be left behind. I had an amazing opportunity to meet Marshall Gans, who was one of the people who's a professor at Harvard Kennedy School. And I was speaking at the Harvard India conference, and I just messaged him and said, I would like to speak to you about how elections happen in India. I gave him a context, how I stood for election and how I lost election, and I'm trying to get my idea together. And he said, please come over. He drove me from one meeting to another meeting. Such a generous guy, amazing professor, where he took time out saying that, oh, I want to talk to you. And he said an interesting thing. One of the things that Obama's election was important is that they said no voter should be left behind. They made sure that every volunteer made sure that calls are made. Every voter is motivated to go and cast his vote, irrespective of for whom he is voting, right? And that's the level of mobilization that every candidate should have. And it's not easy to build that kind of a depth in a short period of time. You have to be incessantly and constantly in touch with your electorate, and we should basically accept if you don't win an election, nothing wrong, right? You have given an alternative to people to pick and choose, and if we don't get elected, we should not have ill feeling, or we should not feel bad. As one of my very dear ex-MP of Karnataka, a friend of mine, he used to tell me that, Sridhar, sometimes I have lost election. On the results day, we are completely shattered. All the electoral process, etc., made us believe as if we are going to win because of the voter turnout, all the thing that happened, the turnout at political rallies, etc. whatever happens on the day of counting, if we have lost, we take care of ourselves. Whatever is the self-messaging that we have to do, we do on that day, and then we forget about it. We prepare for the next election that is 5 years down the line, right? A political leader's journey is to incessantly be in the process of engaging with his constituents, understanding what the constituents need, and marrying with larger objectives, larger goal setting, and bring them all together.
It was very nice that you had said that everybody who deserves, who's committed to make a difference to the country, to the state, to the panchayat, should stand for elections, and saying that don't think about only voting for the winning candidate, but vote for who is the right person. So the thought process you brought in is very good. Now my question is from Dr. Asha Vijay Rao, why they are not talking about pensions to older adults? Meager rupees 500 cannot feed one person. Can you take me to talk to any political leader? Why ignore elders, their needs, the go to vote teachers?
So, Dr. Asha, I have two parts to my answer. The first is please find out who are all the contestants in your area, right? And political leaders will be extremely busy between now and 28th of November, where they'll be constantly campaigning. It may be possible for you to go and catch them at a door-to-door meeting near you. The other thing also is for you to go and find out the local political leader and say, can you please hand over this letter of mine to your political leader? Chances are that some serious political parties will actually make sure the letter reaches to the contestant. He may not respond to you immediately, but over a due course, they'll come back and reach out to you. I was at a book launch yesterday in the city of Bengaluru, and a youngster came to me and said, "Uncle, do you remember me?" And I said, "No, help me remember." And he said, "Remember when you contested elections, I was one of the volunteers for you. And this is 10 years after my election. He still remembers me. I got 6,271 votes, but he was one of the guys who enabled me to get quite a few votes in that area, right?" So people want to meet their leaders. The leaders also want to meet people who are either working for them or who are also voting for them. They want to engage in this dialogue, right? And even if you are not able to do it in the next 8-10 days, please don't feel bad. You have the rest of the time. Make sure that you take that 1, 2, 3 hours. Instead of going and sitting in a movie, you may actually take those 3 hours and converse with your political leader. So that is the first thing of saying that how do you get audience to political leaders? And today in the age of social media, many of them actually respond to tweets, Instagram posts, and Facebook messages. Please give that a shot as well. The second part is about the old age pension and what should it come, what should the amount be? The first conversation is this amount big enough? What I would rather ask you is saying that, is money what you are looking for, or are you looking for facilities that will make aging more graceful? Facilities that you are looking for aging that will make end of life care better. So there are a whole lot of things that people need, and those should be prioritized instead of giving 500,000 or 2,000 rupees for each old person, right? You should flip the question and say, can there be better healthcare facilities? Can there be parks where elderly people can go and exercise, walk around? And if you look at it, a healthy lifestyle, a lifestyle where they have access to culture, art, and society, will actually extend their life by 10, 20 years very easily. Being out in the public spaces is very good for them. So footpaths, being able to go meet a good doctor in their primary health center, all of these are important facility. Even if 500 becomes 5,000, and if none of these exists, that is not enough. So you could look at some of these thoughts that Dr. Jayaprakash Narayan articulates and says that why transfer of money is not necessarily the best solution, but providing all these facilities at scale for every section of society is far more important than just becoming check writing machines. If check writing machines are the replacement of government, then it's going to be a very, very sad future where governments will not have enough money to please everyone, and you will neither get the facilities nor the funds. So please be wary of people who just say, okay, I'll give you more money, then that's what is the solution for this. That is a very short-term gap. Even America used food for work program when they were going through a transitional phase in their economic growth. But those are all short-term measures. They are not long-term replacements for making your life better. So please engage with your politicians and confront them and say that don't give us short-term solutions, give us long-term solutions.
Okay. There is a question from Mr. Sumit Ghosh. How can my NGO work jointly for this unique and innovative initiative? How do we bring in awareness? How do we bring in people to talk about the manifestos? How do we educate people around us in our own constituencies, in the areas we work in? How do we bring in this discussion? Because especially today, politics means it's taboo. So that anybody who's slightly educated or who's willing to think is not even applying their mind to get into this area.
So one of the crucial mindset change that we should try and bring about is to say politics is good. Politics is a solution rather than politics itself being a problem, right? And what I have been involved in doing over the last 10 years is encourage people to have a public debate between the contestants. We have done this at the MLA level, we have done this at the corporator level, where all the competing candidates come at a normal platform that is set up by civil society organizations or a group of civil society organizations, and they present their manifesto, they take questions, they debate with each other and kind of try and explain why they are contesting, what are their priorities, and how do they differ from the other political parties. So this is definitely doable. You just need a good coalition of people to come together and say that you are a political platform, your interest is to further democracy. And when we have done this in the past, we have returned to the Election Commission of India telling that this is a non-partisan platform and hence you need to support us. They have gone way and beyond. They have given us easy permissions. They have given us security in many places where they said, you guys are crazy to do something like this. What if some bad things happen? We will give you enough security. We believe what you are doing is a good cause, right? So that way, Election Commission is also interested in these activities where you can be apolitical and further political discussions. You could reprint these manifestos at your own cost and distribute, right? You can write to Election Commission and say that you would want all manifestos to be more accessible. You could put it up on your digital platforms. You can redistribute on your social media channels, right? So do all of these things, right? I mean, many ways in which you can congregate ideas. And that's the reason why I use this talk also as a platform to elicit and understand what is it that you would like. And when we come, as we are bringing our students from the Masters in Political Leadership and Government course to come and spend a week to understand the priorities of Telangana and interact with quite a few thousand voters in different constituencies. And we take this as serious journey for the students. They went to Madhya Pradesh to understand the trends in the election. Some of my students are going to Rajasthan as we speak. And from 21st onwards, we are going to be in Telangana. So as educational institutions, we have been doing everything from taking electoral studies, where elections happen, to also doing National Legislative Conference, the video of which you saw, where we got 2,200 MLAs under a single platform, and make sure that MLA talks to an MLA from across the country. You will not realize that there are so many interesting things that people can talk outside of their parties, right? And this is in our interest where good ideas get cross-pollinated, right? So for us also as educational institutions, we have found ways in which we can engage with more and more leaders. And as many people say, if you don't ask, you don't know what you will get in return. At worst, they'll say no, which is okay. You can go back and do what you were doing yesterday. But if they say yes, you end up creating something as amazing as the National Legislative Conference, right? We have taken 20 years to kind of make sure that people across political parties come and converse with us and say that, you know what, we are doing this. Can you help us understand what are the implications of this, right? And for us, we see that as our role in the civil society, right? So as NGOs, as everyone else, making the priorities of citizens known to the political leaders is a good process. Making the political party position on these issues, making known to people is also a good process. And we should all join hands in celebrating democracy. Elections is the only festival that all of us should participate in. as far as celebrating the Constitution is concerned.
Well, amazing. You've given so many ideas to an NGO on how they can participate and ensure the democratic process is successful in our country. Thank you so much.